What is going on, everybody? It is your boy Arrows, and we are here with a bit of a different video. Not something that I had planned this week, but I was just really happy with how this deck did at my locals yesterday. That I really wanted to talk about it and talk about my matches and talk about what I feel like this version of aggro, how it places going into the upcoming Fabled format, and of course core constructed. So yesterday I played a post rotation version of my Mountain Dew aggro, my Amber Emerald aggro pile, and so we made some changes from the initial build. We'll talk about those changes when we get to them. But I really loved how this deck performed yesterday. I ended up going 3-0. I won all three of my tournament matches, and I came first overall. We have a really, even though it's a smaller field of players at my locals, we have a very strong group competitively. So even though like there's not a ton of people, and sometimes I play against zany out there decks, and sometimes I play zany out there decks, we do have a very strong locals competitively. I feel there's like a huge crop of there's like a good crop of good players, really good players, and so it's always a really good testing ground, stuff like that. So we're gonna get into the deck. We are of course running our 4 copies of Daisy Duck Donald's Date. She is a 1-cost uninkable 1/4 quests for 2. And whenever this character quests, each opponent reveals the top card of their deck. If it's a character card, they may put it into their hand. Otherwise, it goes to the bottom of their deck. So we ran 4 of these. I didn't actually see her a lot. I didn't see her a lot yesterday, and we almost every time I hit anybody with her, they got a character. So, but she's still a really good card. 4 copies of Lady Decisive Dog. She is a 1-cost inkable 0/3. Quest for 1. Whenever you play a character this turn, this character gets +1. And while this character has 3 or more strength, she gets +2 lore. She has a really nice. I love this card. This current version of this deck is more tailored to popping that ability off. We have Megara, we have He's a Tramp, we have Tramp still, we have Pearlus. We have a lot more ways to get this ability going off than we did before. Still running my 2 copies of Nala, 2 copies of Little John as our generic 0/4 1-cost. I'm still searching. I ironically enough didn't have 4 copies of everything else I wanted to play, so we're still on the hunt for the 4 copies. So these are going to be coming out of the final build. 4 copies of Cursed Merfolk. I'm so happy that Cursed Merfolk is back. It's a 1-cost 0/1 quest for 2, and whenever this character is challenged, each opponent chooses and discards a card. Most players are not going to challenge into Merfolk. They're going to use various cards to get rid of him. They're playing still going to use Dump Truck. They're going to use Grab Your Sword. Not Grab Your Sword, Fire the Cannons. They're going to use a bunch of other options to get rid of our Merfolk so they don't have to challenge into it. But until that happens, we're still questing for 2, which is fantastic. And that keeps those damaging cards off of my other more important characters like the ladies, the daisies, etc., etc. We're running 4 copies of Lady Elegant Spaniel. 1-cost uninkable 1/2 quest for 1. And while we have a character named Tramp in play, we gain additional lore. We already talked about Little John. 4 copies of Lilo Escape Artist. She's a 2-cost 1/2 quest for 2. And then at the start of your turn, if this card is in your discard pile, you may play it. You may play her for her cost exerted. So I actually won my game 3 against my good friend Mitchell's red amber amethyst. No, sorry, ruby amethyst deck, because we were able to bring her out when I was at 18 lore. No, 16 lore. We were able to bring her out when I was at 16 lore, and then I was able to play another one of our new cards, Clawhouser, with her. I was at 18, guaranteeing that I was gonna get that final 2 lore off the Lilo to secure the game. 3 copies of Megara. This is going to be 4 in the final variant version of this deck. For some reason, I don't actually own 4 copies of this Megara, which is wild to me. But it is what it is. She is a 2-cost 2/1 quest for 1. And when you play this character, chosen character gets +2 this turn. She comes in on turn 2, gives +2 to Lady. Lady's ability gets +1 because we played a character. Lady's at 3. We're questing for 3 on our turn 2, which is phenomenal. If we go turn 1, turn 2, and say turn 3, requesting for 5, which is something we could normally only do with this deck with Piglet. So very good card. I'm very excited. She put in a lot of work in my first game against Blake's Steel Sapphire Hero, and my last game against Frank's Amber Sapphire Princesses. 3 copies of Tramp. Again, this is another card I want to have 4 of. I just don't have 4, and he is incredibly hard to find in my local area. He is a 1 cost, 2 cost, 1/3 quest for 1. Well, I control a lady. He costs 1 less to play. And then when we play this character, chosen character of yours gets +1 strength for each other character I control. We used this a lot to keep our first match, keep our opponent's Calhouns down in our first match. So, really good card. 4 copies of Chip, Friend Indeed. I can never remember what his bottom thing is. He's a 3 cost, 3/3 quest for 1, and then Dale's partner ability. When you play this character, chosen character gets +1 lore this turn. This is really good. We were able to use it to get to some numbers earlier, especially in the late game. I was able to play this, give my Daisy an additional lore, and then that won me the game against my round 1 opponent. 3 copies of Clawhauser. Again, this should be 4, but I left my 4th copy at home. Don't want to talk about it. But honestly, at 3, this card put in some work, especially in my game 1 and my game 3. He came in clutch in my round 2 as well. But my round 1 and round 3, he was definitely like the all-star of the game. He has a 3 cost, 1/4, quest for 2, and he has Bodyguard and Singer 4. I didn't get the chance to sing any songs with him, but the Singer 4 was super, but the Bodyguard was super helpful in my first round against Blake's Steel Sapphire Hero. We were able to keep him relatively contained with his Calhoun. He had a really bad draw in his first turn because he just kept drawing Calhouns, and so when he was playing them, I had Clawhauser. It takes a while to get through Clawhauser. It takes a while to get through Daisy, so we were able to keep our board pretty secure, and then use a combination of Megara, Tramp, and he's a Tramp to keep his board pretty sustained. 4 copies of Perla. She is a 3 cost, 3/2 quest for 1 with evasive and support. This is just another great way of popping off our Lady Decisive Dogs effect card. We are running 4 copies of Snow White, Fairest in the Land. The 4 cost, 2/2 quest for 2, can't be challenged. This actually came in really handy in my game 1 game. My game 1 game in round 1, because he wasn't drawing into any of his damaging cards, and we had an unchallengeable character on the field, so we were able to take that game pretty effectively. 3 copies of Jock. I don't know if I like Jock as much as I want to like Jock. He's a 4 cost, 3/4 quest for 1. When you have 3 or more other characters in play, you gain 2 lore. I was able to get it to go off on my round 3, game 3, but otherwise, most of the time I ink him. I know why I'm playing him, but it's just, I would just like to see more out of him, which I feel like in a post-rotation format where there's not as much damage in cards, there's not as much like power rushing like in Fox and Maui. I think we'll get more value out of this. 3 copies of Darling Dear. This card is just always good. Being able to drop this and give chosen character +2 lore. We were able to take our game 2 because our game 2 and round 2, because we were able to drop this, give something +2 lore, quest with everything, and then she was active and they couldn't get rid of her. Question with everything puts to 19, whereas without her, it only would have put us to 17, and we would have lost. And then 3 copies of Lady Miss Park Avenue. 5 cost, uninkable, 4/4 quest for 2. She shifts for 3 on top of any other lady. We are running 8 targets in this deck for her right now. When you play this character, you may return up to 2 character cards with cost 2 or less from your discard pile to your hand. We really love her. She's we're running 6 songs in this. Now we're running Stop Chaos in his tracks over Under the Sea, because honestly I just don't have extra Under the Seas, and I forgot to switch them out. I don't want to talk about it. But we're running 3 copies of He's a Tramp. It is a 1 cost song. Chosen character gets +1 for this turn for each character you have in play. We use this very well in our round 1 or round 3, we were able to use it to keep boards under control so that we could keep questing. Really good card. I didn't actually see any of these, which means I wouldn't have seen any Under the Seas, but returning 2 chosen characters with 3 costs or less to their player's hand is still pretty solid. It's not Under the Sea. I don't 100% know if I want either one in here. We're still working on it. Other options, I'll show you guys some other options I'm thinking about for this deck in just a second. But first, I want to talk about my matchups. I'll talk about my matchups, then we'll talk about other cards you can put in. I want for this deck going forward, and we'll talk about how I feel this deck places in the new meta going forward. So round 1, we played against Blake's Steel Sapphire Heroes. Round 1, he everything in his deck just clumped together. He drew into nothing but Calhoun's and Anna's, and Anna Braving the Storm, and I was able to go Daisy. I was able to drop all my heavy questers. We played some Clawhausers at the right time to keep my Daisies, my ladies alive, because Calhoun wasn't getting through them on her own. Then we were using combinations of Megara and he's a tramp and tramp to take out his big threats like his Robin Hood, Champion of Sherwood, his Calhoun's, and we were just able to secure game 1. Game 2 went more or less the same. He just had some really bad pulls. Again, Clawhauser really came in clutch, having that 4 willpower in the early game. Calhoun's were not able to get through it. He was sitting on a regular Robin Hood for the longest time and couldn't really do anything with it. We were just able to speed through with our ladies and tramps really came in clutch in this game because we were able to keep a good number of them on the board and quest for a bunch of lore really early. Round 2, I played against my best friend Mitchell. He was on Ruby Amethyst, which honestly is kind of a bad matchup for me because he has sharks, he has a shark, he has Be Prepared, he has Maui Hero to All, he has foxes, he has Merlin's Mims. So he was able to really keep me under control game 1. Game 2, I made a not a risky play, but on our turn 3, I learned from our game 1. And on my turn 3, I kept his board relatively empty just in case he had another fox in hand, so that we were then able to keep questing with our big cards. Clawhauser put in some work here, giving us protection for a little bit. Even if the Clawhauser ate the Maui, he didn't really have anything else that could overpower anything else on my field for turn 2. For game 2, we were able to take it with combination plays of Megara. He's a tramp on my lady, tramp on my decisive dog to get a bunch of quick lore. Game 3 went relatively the same. We were able to play into his board, attack into his board when we could, and we were able to just gain a ton of lore. I think in one turn I went from like 5 to like 17. We gained a ton of lore. We were able to, the deck really did what the deck was supposed to do. When I hit to like 18 lore, I was able to bring back Lilo, gifted Escape Artist who had gotten Be Prepared, and I was able to drop a Clawhauser to secure my game 3. This was actually, if my round 3 didn't happen, this was probably my favorite game of the day. Like I feel like even the games that I won, they were still pretty close once he was able to get rolling with what Ruby Amethyst can do. I've always felt like Ruby Amethyst is really scary. Once we hit like 5 low, once they hit 5 mana, it becomes a real give and take kind of aspect of how it's gonna go. My round 3, we were paired into Frank. He was playing Amber, Sapphire, Princess Aggro, Queen's Cores, Glass Slippers, all sorts of stuff. And we have pretty much decided that our game was probably going to come down to whoever won the dice roll because both of our decks do very similar things. We don't 100% care what's going on our opponent's side of the board all the time. And we were able to have a really good game. He won game 1 because he just outquested me. Being able to have that first turn and play like a bunch of daisies, he was just able to take the game really quickly. Game 2, I came out with some fast-paced lore from my Megaras, my ladies, my daisies, and I was able to keep his board a little bit more contained. We did crash into his piglets, which enabled him to really kind of stop questing. We kind of forced him to stop questing and start trying to deal with our board. And then we were just able to really keep that pressure on. Game 3 was more or less the same. He started off questing fast. I like power quested on my turn 3. We had quested for like my turn 4. I had quested for like 7 lore, and again I forced him to like kind of like try to micromanage my board. But we were playing claw houses at opportune times, using our Megaras, using our tramps, and he's a tramp to keep his board under control. There was a bit of a scary moment when he did play the Amber Shift Queen, but we were fortunate that we were able to soak up the attacks with Clawhauser, and then I was able to use a combination of Megara and Tramp to take out the queen and really just keep ourselves ahead. And we finished the day with a 3-0 record. Again, always love playing. Always love playing the people that I play against. It's really good practice. We have a really strong local. I just love it. So let's talk about what I want to put in this deck still and how I feel it's going to measure up against the meta. So before we get into what I want to add into this deck going forward, I do want to talk about its meta relevance going into the Fabled format. So what I like about this deck is because it's so fast paced and is able to get off to such an explosive start, it has a really good matchup into a lot of other decks that need a few turns to like. I really noticed this when I played the pre-rotation version of it at our set champs and at the locals that I played in the week after. This deck flourishes against a slower paced format. So Blurple, when I played against Blurple in a match after the set championships on Reign of Jafar, I was able to speed ahead in the games where I was really push forward. Obviously, going first with this deck is super important because you need to be questing first to get the maximum amount of value out of your daisies. If you're questing second, then it's going to give your opponent access to their card. If you're going second, it's going to give your opponent access to a lot of their cards that are going to keep your board contained relatively quickly. A big part of the reason why I lost my round 2 and 3 is because I didn't go first. The games that I was able to go first, I was able to successfully power through everything I want. I feel like that is a thing with a lot of the meta. A lot of the decks don't really start functioning until like turn 3 or turn 4. I'm already like almost halfway to victory by those turns. So I feel like winning that die roll is very, and I know winning the die roll is essential for any deck to, for any game. Going first is important for any deck in any game, but I feel like with this deck it is super important because I need those initial turns of aggro because everything in the deck is relatively small in power and strength and willpower. So that being said, going into this new rotation, some of the decks I think that are going to be huge are still Blurple. Blurple's still good. I still feel like we have a very strong matchup into Blurple because we are questing really, really fast, that they are hopefully playing a catch-up game 90% of the time. Challenge with the bodyguards, I feel like we're in a much better position than we were previously. Because like challenge, I don't know how many challenge decks you guys play where they run damaging cards as well, but some of the decks here, they do run damaging cards. Us being able to drop Clawhausers relatively early and hopefully keep him going is really clutch for this deck to do its stuff. Another card that's not on here that I really should have put on here is Julietta Madrigal, because she's able to heal damage and draw us a card. Clawhauser isn't going to die all the time, and we are going to be able to heal that damage, especially if we build like a non-budgety version, which are what some of the cards I have here are. I really feel like that is going to be really to us is being able to heal the damage off our bodyguards. Um, One deck I do want to talk about that I feel like we just auto lose into potentially is Ruby Emerald Powerline. Now, all the Powerline builds I feel like have the potential to be really, really strong. But for us personally, the Ruby Emerald version of that deck is going to be the deck that gives us the most trouble because they have super easy access to Under the Sea as early as their turn 4, which is bad for us. Horribly bad for us. This deck dies immensely to Under the Sea. And I know this because a friend of mine um was playing Chernadogs, and when I was playing my Amber Emerald discard deck against it, once I played that that initial Under the Sea, I pretty much won the game. So Powerline I feel like is just a auto loss in its Ruby Emerald version. I feel like we can still play really well into the other versions because the Amber version is just going to gain a bunch of life and we might get be King Undisputed. The Steel version, Strength of a Raging Fire will hurt, but I feel like this variant of the deck is better equipped to keep boards sustained. My opponent's board sustained, so the strengths won't hurt as much. I mean, they'll still hurt, but like the biggest willpower I have is like 5 on the Darling Deer. But I feel like we can really keep that sustained relatively well. Flurple, I still feel we have a good matchup, like I said. Amber Steel aggro, I feel like it's gonna come down to whoever goes second. Whoever goes first. Because like we do, once we get higher up, we do have ways of getting rid of their cards. We do have ways of getting that Tiana off the field to kind of keep everything else sustained. Under the Sea is really good against that card. Of course, our final build will make. I wanted to test out. I didn't have extra Under the Seas, and I left that deck here at home. But I also did want to test out Stopped Chaos in his tracks because it is also a really good card against a lot of these more aggressive decks. But Under the Sea, I feel like it's just a really strong card into that deck as well. We are going to talk about some of the cards that I want to change. Some of the cards that I want to add in. So we're going to get into that right now. So we have 4 copies of. I want to add in Aurora. I want to look into Aurora Holding Court because I feel like this deck could benefit greatly from the turn 1, turn 2 Aurora Tiana play. It will be a little bit less explosive than what we have right now with Daisy and Lady and Megara, but this will keep our board alive longer in that early game, in those early plays. Other cards I want to look at is Ursula. Ursula with songs I think is really good again into our Powerline matchup. Being able to keep that shift that shift 4 Powerline off the field is going to be clutch for us even to have a chance in that matchup. Same thing with Ursula, being able to discard their cards is going to help us immensely in that match. So I feel like going forward, this deck might become more of like an aggro discard pile. With like our songs might change out a bit. We might drop a few characters and put in some more songs. Yes, that will make us slightly less aggressive, but in the end, I feel like this deck is going to have to turn into just like a solid mix of aggro and some control, or else we are going to auto lose to Powerline. And I do feel like Powerline is going to be the biggest deck of this format in any of his variants. He's just so good, so fast. The fact that he can sing all of these like amazing sing together songs on his own is really scary. Pumping up our aggression, we are gonna want to look into Lady, Family Dog. This is another really strong shift target for Miss Park Avenue. Being able to play an additional character for free on our turn 3 is really good. We can also use this to drop a bodyguard of 2 or less. We can run the Prince, the 0/5 Prince. We can drop him for free, put him in the bodyguard. If we have Tiana out, then we're just looking really good in those early turns. Genie is another amazing way to proc Decisive Dogs effect, because when he's exerted, your other character gets +2. When we play him, when we play a character, Lady's going to get +1, and then when we quest with the genie, she's going to get +2 to make her +3, which is going to be able to quest for 3 lore, which is fantastic. This card is really good. This card is going to be really, really good into challenge decks. I like this card. It is a little with bodyguards because I don't really want to activate. I have to look into the ruling to see if I have to untap all of my characters or just some of my characters. But this is also really good to keep our board protected from challenging if we don't have a bodyguard on the field. He is 5 cost uninkable, 4/4, quest for 2. At the end of your turn, he's a shift 3. I don't run a Simba, but we could put a Simba in to make it a little bit cheaper if we wanted to. At the end of your turn, if this character is exerted, you may ready your other characters. So this is really good against the challenge decks. It's going to keep us active and get us another turn where we can quest for a big amount of damage. Our opponent's not going to be able to challenge in our characters unless they're running like the Mulan package, which has standing characters, untapped characters. Looking into actions, I want to experiment with Invited to the Ball. I think this is a really good card. Reveal the top 2 cards of your deck, put the revealed characters into your hand, put the rest of the bottom of your deck in the order. I run a lot of characters. So this is going to enable us to stock our hand up, which could work for inking, which could work for being able to play more cards. Just songs are where I really feel like this deck is going to change and evolve. I don't have Sudden Chill on here, but now that I think about it, talking about like the Ursula and keeping our opponent's hand low for this, discard outlets are also really good, going to be really good for this going forward. Like we have so much to give, gives chosen character bodyguard until the start of our next turn. Giving a Tiana bodyguard would be hilarious, but just giving something that we don't mind if it goes away, bodyguard, while we can still play other cards is really seems really good to me. World's Greatest Criminal Mind. This is going to be really good for Powerline, World's Greatest Rockstar, Maui, Half Shark. Going to keep those off the board and hopefully keep us in that horrible matchup. Same thing with Mother Knows Best. Keeping those cards off the board is going to be really key, especially the Shift Powerline. Keeping the Shift Powerline off the board is going to be really key for us to be able to play the game going forward. Like I said, 1 Under the Sea cripples this deck horribly. So if we can keep the World's Greatest Rockstar off the field until like turn 6, turn 7, we're in a really good position. Same standout gives us a +3, which will proc Lady and evasive till the start of our next turn, which will keep Lady from being challenged into on the next turn. Also really good if we need to clear out a shark and we don't have another option. Giving something +3 and then crashing into it is really good. And then signed contract. This is going to be very pendant, I feel like, how big Powerline is in your area. If you're playing Emerald of any kind, you can fit this card in, and your area has a ton of Powerline variants. This is probably a really good card to have a tech of in your deck, like tech or maybe 2 in your deck, because you're going to get to draw a card every time your opponent plays a song. Powerline sings a lot. So being able to draw a card is going to be really clutch for you, getting more cards in your hand. For us, it's going to be putting more cards in our hand, hopefully drawing us deeper into those songs that will keep our opponent's board kind of contained. So this is the deck. This is what I'm going to be playing going forward. I'm building a lot of stuff. I'm so excited for Constructed. But this is what I feel is a really strong additions to the deck and strong plays that we can make with the deck. I really like this deck. Like, I really, really like this deck. I love how fast it plays. I love how now with the additions we made, if it has to, it can go on the offensive and keep boards contained, whereas before, in my head, I didn't really care about that sort of thing. It was just like, well, I'm just going to quest a lot and I'm going to win. Definitely come into road bumps in certain decks that are able to keep us contained. So we are now playing these cards to keep them contained. But don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, ding the notification bell if you want to be alerted to when we post more Lorcana content. Bit of a more relaxed schedule this week for our content. Just kind of like getting to a point where I want to see what I can do, but I also don't want to be like overexerting myself. So stream, we work, play cards. But yeah, thank you guys for watching the videos. Thank you for all the support on the channel. So we've done more Lorcana based content. We are going to be adding some Pokemon content into the channel going forward. I'm really excited for that. Pokemon TCG is my first love. And Pokemon in general is kind of what has made me who I am today, and is kind of responsible for me still being here today. So I'm really excited to start adding that back into my stream, add that back into my content. But yeah, you guys are awesome. Stay safe out there. Enjoy your card games. As always, I will see you when I see you. Bye.